you to hear audio from Tom Harkin that I mean, Tom Harkin has never struck me. He's a guy who I've disagreed with, but I've never thought of Tom Harkin as a communist or a Marxist or anything like that. These guys, I don't know if they are just putting their finger in the wind and feeling the Marxist winds blowing, and so now they're just kind of becoming that because they think that's what's coming in power, or if they've always believed this and they've just hidden it, or if it's a new discovery. But listen to what Tom Harkin says.
I think, first of all, I want to disagree with those who say we have a spending problem. Everybody keeps saying we have a spending problem. And when they talk about that, it's like there's an assumption that somehow we as a nation are broke.
Oh, my God.
We can't afford these things any longer. We're too broke to invest in education and housing and things like that. Well, look at it this way. We're the richest nation in the history of the world.
No, we're not.
We are now the richest nation in the world. We have the highest per capita income of any major nation. That kind of begs the question, doesn't it? If we're so rich, why are we so broke? Is it a spending problem?
Listen to this.
No. It's because we have a misallocation of capital, a misallocation of wealth.
Oh.
All of this.
Oh. A misallocation of wealth. So in other words, there are people that people in his position know should not have wealth because it's been misallocated. Well, you don't step up to any window and they're like, okay, yeah, you're rich, you're poor. And you're like, no, wait, no, my paperwork says I'm supposed to be rich. You were supposed to give me the money. A misallocation means that somebody is out there allocating the wealth. Nobody's allocating the wealth. People are going out there and earning it, either through their talent in sports, in their talent in business. They might be a drug dealer. They might be a dancer. Whatever. They might just be a speculator. They might be a wildcatter. But their wealth wasn't allocated unless you're a Kennedy. It wasn't allocated to you. You went out and earned it.
And it's interesting because he talks about we have the highest per capita income in the country. Well,
in the world.
In the world, yeah. That has nothing to do with the government, though. That's the people going out and earning that money. So it shows his mindset.
And he says
he thinks that the per capita income belongs to the government.
He also says that we're the richest nation in the world. Let me tell you something. You can drive in my neighborhood, and I live in a nice neighborhood. You can drive in my neighborhood, and there are rich people, and then there are fake rich people. There are when I say fake rich people, these are the people that make a large income, but they are so far in debt that the second that income is shut off, they are more broke than you are. They have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. A rich person is somebody, I believe, is somebody who has a lot of money saved, not what the appearance is. The country is $16 trillion in debt. There is no way to pay that debt off. There's no way. I'm sorry, that's the deficit. The debt is 100 and what are we at? 150 now? 130 to 150 trillion dollars. So you know, everything on earth, if I take every dollar, every ruble, every piece of coinage on earth, it's $50 trillion. If I take everything out of every bank, it's $50 trillion. We are now 3 times in debt, 3 times what all the money in the world that is sitting in banks and in circulation, 3 times that amount.
When you include our obligations, our unfunded liability.
Yeah.
Medicare,
what we promised, what
Medicaid,
they say we can't cut.
Social Security, all
right.
that.
We're $16 trillion or 130 to 150, whichever you want to, if you want to look at the future that they say we can't cut, or what we currently have out and we borrowed from China.
Either way, we can't pay it.
We can't pay it.
Can't pay
it. So let me ask you, somebody who is, Donald Trump. Donald Trump, he says, you know, look at me, I've got the gold faucets. Do you remember when he went bankrupt?
Yeah.
Lost everything? Was he? I still don't know. I still don't. If I'm looking at somebody, I look at Warren Buffett and I have to bet which one could last a depression, it's Warren Buffett. I'll go with Warren Buffett every time. We're not with the Warren Buffett. We used to be. When I was growing up, we were the Warren Buffett nation. We were the biggest lender. We had people borrowing money from us. Nobody's borrowing money from us. Why? Because we don't have it. So we have to go out, and now we're the biggest debtor nation in the history of the world. And this guy says, oh, you know, that's fallacy. We're rich. No, sir. You are the poor guy with the big screen TV that you put your family at risk to buy that stupid big screen TV. You've got a really nice ride because it makes you feel good. You're buying the most expensive tennis shoes and the expensive suits because it makes you feel good, but you cannot afford it. And someday soon it's going to catch up and you'll lose all of it. How are we the richest nation in the world? And for him to say that we have not a spending problem, but a misallocation of wealth. Who's allocating the wealth, Tom? Who decides who's rich and who's poor? These guys are out of control, are truly, truly out of control. The good news is there's an answer, and I'll give it to you around the corner. All right, I was going to tell you that one of the solutions that we have, I think, is to change the game. Our nation does not have any problems that aren't solved by self-control, that aren't solved by restoring first principles of decency and honor and humility and perseverance and hard work and courage and integrity and excellence. You put those back into our society, and our society is fixed. It really is. I'll tell you how about a group of people that are trying to do this, and they've got something absolutely amazing, and I'll tell you about it next. I believe that's why we have success. I believe that that's why in the end we'll be happy. We may not even be successful, but we will be happy and be able to sleep at night because we understand commitment. Commitment is really important. Humility. If you're not humble, that's the problem with our country. As a nation, we're not humble. We are saying we're going to impose these values that we believe in deeply. But the people in Afghanistan, they don't believe it. They don't understand it. And quite honestly, they don't want it. And you certainly don't want, you want something that, is there any value in something that has been handed to you? Something that's just been given to you. There's no value in it. You have to struggle for it. You have to see it, and you have to see it being lived by other people. And then you say, I want some of that. I want to be like that. It's like, what's his name? The friend of ours that was in, that movie, he was homeless.
Gardner?
Chris Gardner. This is the movie that Will Smith was in, where he played the homeless guy that saw the Ferrari, and he looked at the guy and he said, what job do you have? And he said, I'm a stockbroker. He saw it. He wanted that life for himself. He didn't want to live in poverty anymore, and so he earned it. We're missing that value. We're missing perseverance and teamwork and integrity and courage and excellence and trust and responsibility and respect for one another. And look at the lack of respect we have for almost everything. Almost everything. Everything is a joke. And everything can be said. I walked into an elevator yesterday with my wife. These two 20-somethings came in. My wife and I, I'm wearing a tie. We're going to Pat's wedding. I'm wearing a tie. My wife is all dressed up. Another guy, two other guys are in the elevator with us. They're all wearing suits. You know, we're all, you know, we look like respectable individuals. And these two are having a conversation. And it's nothing but the S word and the F word. And they're not ashamed by it at all. They're not just, and I even at one point went, didn't affect them, didn't stop them. They didn't even think. They didn't even think. It was what they wanted to do, and they had no problem with that kind of language in front of other people. We got off the elevator, and Jason, who was with me, he said, my father would have hit me in the head. And you know what the worst part was? The worst part was not the guy, it was the girl. I'm convinced that women, if they don't police guys, we're done. We're done. If you don't say, I don't want to be with you, you act like that. What are you, 4? Guys, I swear, are 12 years old, and they will remain 12 years old as long as women allow us to be 12 years old. You need to, every woman says, where are the men? Well, I'll tell you where the men are. The men are gone because you said, I can get the door. Okay. Don't treat me any differently. Okay. We're all 12-year-old boys. You never grow up. You'll never grow up. We're all Peter Pan. Okay, so now what's the answer? There is a group of people, and I'm doing this because I was asked to do this, and this guy is the guy who's running this thing. I really respect him, and one of the reasons why I respect him is because he came into my office and he said, "Listen, we're doing this thing in the American Airlines arena in a few months, and we've invited all of these sports people. Tim Tebow is going to be there, Gabby Douglas is going to be there." A bunch of other names that I just don't have any idea. I mean, I stopped at Tim Tebow, and I only know him because he's a religious zealot. So anyway, these guys are game changers. And
you know Nick, and Nick is a tremendous motivational speaker.
Nick Vujicic is the guy with no arms and no legs. He's